Hello and welcome to this video looking at the Zlomotion system on an Orion 6-inch Starblast reflector telescope. Now I've done another video on the Zlomotion system for the Zoomel Z12 12-inch Dobsonian telescope, and this system is designed, engineered, and manufactured by Dan Katz, a cabinet maker here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He let me install the system on the Z12 so that I could get a chance to use it, get a chance to review it. We could tweak things a little bit. I used it one night and sent him an email that evening telling him that I wanted to commission him to put a similar system on my Orion Starblast 6-inch telescope. And so he came and we got together, and I left the telescope in his hands, and this is what he came up with, and it's really something. In keeping with Dan's wanting to have something that's very aesthetically pleasing, but still uses all of the existing parts of the telescope, instead of the aluminum sheet that he uses to attach to the rocker of the large Dobsonian, here he chose to use plexiglass, and I think that's really neat because you can see the telescope through it, and it attaches through one of the handles, but it is also attached via screws into the actual base. So these are part of the actual structure of the telescope. These are in the handle, and all of these are slotted so that we can adjust this in and out to adjust the tension on the belt. Now, one of the things about this Starblast telescope is that it has a triangular base. Okay, so the ground board is triangular. Now, when I bought this telescope about 6 months ago, I wanted to use it on this tripod. This is the Meade 884 field tripod. It's actually got the top of this actually adjusts. There you can see the latitude adjustment. So you could use this as a polar thing, although I would be scared to death to do that. But I just took a piece of plywood and cut a round out of it, and it attaches to the top of this tripod. This is a tripod that actually goes with my Meade ETX 125. So I already had that set up. I had drilled 3 holes in it so that the telescope fit down in it very nicely. And this is my grab and go system. Now, of course, when I had done it, I had left that round board natural color, but when Dan got done with it, he went to town on refinishing everything and making it all really look good as well as function well. But you have to have this round board in order for the belt system of the azimuth control to work. And so this works by, we have 2 brass bearings in here, and then we have this control knob, which he calls his micro knob, and when you turn it, it turns against the belt, and it rotates the base of your telescope. So the base, if you turn the knob kind of towards you, the base rotates away. So you do have to get used to which way you turn things, but notice that it's just instantaneous motion. There is no play in this at all. There's no slop, and you can turn it in very, 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 very fine increments. It really is incredibly smooth, incredibly easy to operate. And it's using just the friction of the V-belt on the round ground board. But you can still grab hold of the scope and move it manually. So if you need to move it quickly, it's no problem. You move it around any place you need to go with it. The altitude system, adjustment system, is just like it is on its big brother, except everything is miniaturized. So this is about 10 inches. We've got a 12-inch Acme lead screw. So it's got the square threads. This is the kind of thing you find that controls printer heads and stuff to use for precise positioning. We've got a stainless steel rod down here. It's contained in a metal lined sleeve in this part, and then the Acme lead screw is contained in a sleeve in this part. If I lift that up, you can see the two holes. The orange object is a thrust bearing, and it works by simply loosening this handle, moving it up if you need to move it up, moving it down as you need to move it down, and then fine adjustments are made using the micro wheel. And it is really amazing how finely you can adjust, and also relatively quickly. Okay, I can give that a little spin, and it's moving pretty quick. Now I'm going up, and so it's kind of working against it, but this is where that thrust bearing comes in. This is incredibly smooth. Look at that, I'm just using the tip of my finger, just moving it easy, easy, easy around. This part of the system relies on gravity, and so if your system is a little top heavy, and here I've got an 8x50 Racy finder, and that's the Meade 8-24 zoom lens, that adds quite a bit of weight. Dan does everything he can to utilize existing hardware, and so he's not going to create any new screws. You can see that there are some, this is one of the existing screws to hold this collar on, and here's where he has used his own screw in its place to attach this very nicely finished wooden yoke on. Okay, and it's got a nice little pad underneath it, so it doesn't mar the finish of the telescope. You could remove this and put the original screws back in, and you would be going right where you were. Okay, and there would not be any change to the telescope. Here is the stop that was supplied by Orion. He added this piece here, which is adjustable to adjust the tension, and then this is the bottom of the altitude adjustment, and he's going to make these, design these so that they are threaded as well. Although I found that with my system, I can transport this in my 4Runner, no problem, with everything still attached. I don't have to take this apart, except, of course, I do have to take the belt off, because I have to remove the telescope, which is just sitting. It's not physically attached. It's just sitting on this ground board. There are holes where the rubber feet are that slide in, so that makes it nice and secure. But I remove it from this round board so I can detach that from the tripod and transport everything very easily. But this is a custom job, but he's got the measurements, and if you have an Orion Starblast 6 that you would like to have super precision control on, he can fix you up at Zlomotion.com. Now, a couple of really nice advantages to this. For star hopping, if you're only having to move in two directions at a time, in other words, you do your initial rough getting it on your guide star, and then in your finder scope, you start moving, and it's just a matter of easy turns here, and then easy turns here, and you can do both at the same time, but you're going just up, down, left, right. You can hop from star to star. It's incredibly easy. And then when you're on, it's very, very easy to keep it in the system. The other thing is, when you're at a star party, and of course you get a kid coming up, and the first thing they do when they get to the telescope is they grab hold of the eyepiece and they move it. Well, with this system, they can't move it up and down. It'll only move left and right. Very, very easy to come back in and just dial it right back in. The other thing that's really a neat advantage of this system is that if you have the Starblast 6i, the IntelliScope version, the push-to version, now I don't have push-to on this, but if you did, this system does not interfere with any part of that, and it makes dialing in your object so much easier. because the push-to system, once it's set up and aligned and you put your object in that you want to see, the controller tells you to go left, right, and up and down. Well, now instead of trying to grab hold of the handle and going up and down and over and around and every which way, you're turning this knob to make adjustments left to right, get that dialed in, and you can get right in on it. You're not going to overshoot all the time. Spin this knob to get your up and down or your altitude, dial that in, and boom, you're going to be there. I can imagine that this system would really make an Intelliscope or a push-to system just absolutely a dream to use. About as close to a real go-to as you can get without the expense, the noise, and the and having to have battery power. So there's no electric power to this. It's absolutely silent in operation. The design and finish is just terrific, and Dan can make these for not only this 6-inch Starblast. I don't think you'd want to try and design one for anything any smaller. I think this was a little bit of a challenge right here. But for the regular Dobsonian, the Orion 10-inch XTI, this would be a fantastic system to have on that telescope. So this is the Zlomotion manual slow motion controls for Dobsonian telescope. As for me, this was a custom design, but Dan did in fact make drawings, make measurements, and he can reproduce this, and it's available on his website at zlomotion.com.